We like to bring you good news every day. Here's your good news for today. You still have time to get today's Delmarva Life Daily Deal. Today's Daily Deal is 2-for-1 admission to Nightmares Haunted House in Delmar, Delaware. And don't forget, you can get that daily deal on DelmarvaLife.com or download the free Delmarva Life Daily Deal app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android and get our great deals right there in the palm of your hand. Alrighty, here's a question for you. Where do old airplanes go? Well, if they're lucky, they end up at the Air Mobility Museum in Dover. It actually is the only museum dedicated to airlift and air refueling history. Delmarva Life's Brian Spiros stopped by the museum to learn more about some of the planes there and a very special one that will soon make its arrival.
As planes come and go from Dover Air Force Base, there are others that sit permanently nearby. They've done their time in the sky and are now part of history showcased at the Air Mobility Command Museum in Dover.
This is the one place in the United States where airlift and air refueling airplanes are preserved and presented to the public.
Michael Leister is the director of the museum.
The orange paint, did you have any problem getting the tail orange?
No. He's been part of the progress it's made over the last 26 years.
We actually started with about 20 feet of an old airplane hangar in 1986, and we moved over to this facility in 1996.
The museum takes you through moments in Air Force history, giving you a front row seat of the past. There are a total of 30 planes at the museum.
Out of those 30 airplanes, 10 of them are either the first, last, or the only ones that are kind in the world. So we have some really unique airplanes. Some of the airplanes we have a specific history.
Take, for example, this glider, used during World War II to carry troops and cargo.
So there are not a lot of these left in the world today.
Yeah, that's pretty much an understatement. They built 13,000 of them. The Air Force only owns 2.
And one of them is here.
And one of them is right here at Dover Air Force Base.
Tell us a little about it.
Well, you might want to take note of the fact the glider was fairly expendable, and these were actually literally held together with friction tape and mason twine. That's how they were originally built. They were strong enough to last a couple flights, and that's all they really had to do.
What's interesting to note, during the war, these gliders were made by piano and casket makers, since many aircraft manufacturers were tied up building fighters and bombers.
All right, Mike, so this is not a toy, but I'm having fun playing with it anyway, because airplanes are my thing. This is actually a new addition to the museum. Tell us about it.
Okay, this is a C-5 cockpit procedures trainer that was just recently retired from active duty with the Air Force. And we acquired it and brought it over here to the museum, did a few modifications so it would fit into the hangar, and put it here so Mom and Pop and the kids can get an idea what it's like to sit in the pilot seat of a C-5.
And speaking of the C-5, an entire plane will be arriving in March to go on display. Just to give you an idea of its size, 6 Greyhound buses could fit inside.
We will be the only museum in the world to have a C-5 on display, and the one we're receiving is a very historically important C-5. Among many of the other things, it launched an intercontinental ballistic missile from out the back of the airplane. It was very successful, but it was only ever done once, so that makes that airplane kind of unique in all the world.
So now we're up in the air traffic control tower. It's no longer in use, but it served its purpose for many years.
It did indeed. This was the original air traffic control tower from 1956 until 2009. And it's one of only 4 places in the United States where you can go and actually climb up in an air traffic control tower.
It's from this vantage point where you can see all the other planes at the museum parked out on the tarmac. This plane probably looks familiar. It's Air Force Two, once used to fly around vice presidents and first ladies until a few years ago.
You said this aircraft right here is actually one of the most historic aircraft here on the ramp.
Absolutely. It is a very important airplane to American history. It's the only surviving C-54M model in the world. Those were the ones that they specifically modified to haul coal during the Berlin airlift.
The museum is free and attracts people from all over the world, including Europe and Japan.
People have the idea that we're a guy-friendly museum, and that is true, but we're also very family-oriented. We have free flight simulators for kids to fly. We have guided tours through the aircraft. We make it fun for virtually everybody that comes through here.
And the guided tours are unique. That's because they're given by volunteers who know these airplanes very well.
If you're talking to people here about flying these airplanes, these are the people that actually flew those airplanes.
Keith Sears is one of them.
Every day you meet people who have had experiences in World War II, Korea, and you get to share those experiences. You learn something just about every day.
For many, airplanes are awe-inspiring, especially the ones at the Air Mobility Command Museum. These planes have helped carry troops, been part of operations that ended wars, and have represented our country abroad. And whether you were around to see it unfold or not, they're an impressive sight.
It's the same expression from 3-year-olds as it is from the 80-year-olds. It's wow. And people kind of appreciate what they're walking in to see.
The aircraft are incredible, and the personal stories of the volunteers bring them to life. The Air Mobility Command Museum is open every day except Mondays, and there's no charge if you want to go in and take a tour. Well, still to come on Delmarva Life, are you feeling a little stressed? Now, sniffing a certain fruit can help you relax. A little more than that. Plus other strange but simple steps to de-stress yourself. Delmarva Life, life at its best, here on Delmarva.